Hey friends, thanks for being here. Today I'm going to talk about how I became a writer. I wrote. Okay, so that's literally like my kind of humor. I love deadpanning and dry humor. But in all seriousness, it's taken me a long time to get here. I said in my first video, I wrote my first book when I was 5. That was mostly pictures because I could only spell words like tree and the and 3-letter words. But I started writing my first novel when I was in 7th grade. I still have it in here, actually. It's in a binder right there. I have 130 pages of handwritten, single page, like notebooks like this written out. And I haven't finished that one yet. But I became a writer in August of 2021. And that's when I wrote this book, Roadmap to 1K. I wrote it in about 29 days. And then I took 2 weeks and I proofread and edited it myself because those are strengths that I personally have. You can definitely outsource those things if you're not confident in your editing or proofreading skills, or if you just want a second pair of eyes. I highly recommend, letting people close to you read your work and just have them point out things like, hey, this kind of sounds a little funny to me. Might sound good to you and make sense in your head, but you have like your own sort of context in your little box, and they'll be like looking outside like, hey, this reference doesn't really make sense. I need some context. That sort of thing. So number one thing of how I became a writer is I wrote. I was consistent. I wrote every single day for 30 days, a minimum of 1,000 words. And that's how I got this book done in about 6 weeks. I did not publish it on Amazon right away. What I did was I literally did everything myself. I formatted a PDF file on Canva, and then I created a website and I published it through Shopify or something there. And then just there was a lot of systems involved. But what I do now is I am published through Amazon KDP. So you can just go on Amazon, you can search for Roadmap to 1K, your guide to saving $1,000 a month. You can look for this picture by Sarah Terpstra, that's me, and you can order it there. So this book is just under 100 pages in this size and format. And what I did was I wrote every single day. I wrote between 500 and 1,000 words every single day. Like my minimum was 500 words, with my goal being 1,000. And so I think if you want to be a writer, just be consistent. Even if it means you're writing 100 words, if you're writing one line in a notebook every single day. Sometimes I consider my journaling just brain dumping my ideas out of my head onto a page in a piece of paper. I consider that my writing for the day. But I do write every single day, whether it's journaling, whether it's writing in a novel or one of my kids' books. This is a kids' book that I wrote, Leaping Lemurs. And so whether it's contributing to that, whether it's editing or proofreading, I still try to get a few hundred words written down every single day. And it's being dedicated. So having the dedication to just come back to a project, even if it doesn't sound good. So book 2 right now of Leaping Lemurs is called Joyful Lemur, and he literally goes on a journey for food. And he experiences hunger, where he just feels like he's really hungry, and he kind of feels angry about it. And I am still in production of that book. I'm waiting to work with my illustrator for the images because I know what I want for the illustrations, but I am not happy with how the text is yet, because from Leaping Lemurs, we reached #1 new release in nursery rhymes on Amazon the week that it came out. And so I kind of feel a lot of pressure to continue with that rhyming motif in each of my lemur books. And I love that. My kids love that. They love the rhymes. It just makes it easier to say. And I personally just feel like kids' books are received better if they have rhymes in them. I like kids' books when they rhyme better than if they don't. Dr. Seuss is amazing. I love most of his works. And so being dedicated to come back to your work, your whatever project you're writing on, even if you're not like satisfied with what you wrote yesterday or the day before, and you're like, you know what, this just doesn't really sound good, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going anyway, regardless of the fact that I'm not really happy with what I wrote yesterday. You can always change it in the future, but be consistently being dedicated to one project, I think is what sets apart people who want to be writers and people who are writers, because they follow through with the project that they're working on. I got a degree in YouTube University. So that's kind of why I wanted to start a YouTube channel, is because I always come to YouTube when I want to figure out how to do something, or I want inspiration, or I'm looking for something to fill time, or I want to feel inspired. I wanted to have a channel that would provide all of those things. It would provide inspiration, motivation, being just inspired and dedicated and creative and coming back to this space. And I also wanted to share my journey. So thank you for being here. If you're seeing this, I appreciate you. Being willing to DIY things. So if you want to be a writer, okay, I guess this is more if you want to be an author. But I DIY'd a lot of things before I actually got this put together. So like I was willing to learn new skills. KDP is simple, but you have to do it right, or like they're not going to accept your manuscript and actually publish it. So literally anyone can be an author. You just have to have like a formatted book and follow their rules and their like step-by-step stuff on that website, and you can literally just get a book published. Now, I think what sets us apart, an author from a successful author, is one who is willing to put in the work and the time and the dedication and going through those editing sessions, being able to take your work and elevate it to the next level and really make it something exceptional, which I know for my book, my artist really helped me with that, because I am just so blown away by this cover and the work that she did. I am not artistically inclined. I am creatively inclined in that I love to write, but I cannot draw to save my life. I know there's a lot of videos out there where it's like you can illustrate your own books, and you can. I don't necessarily believe that everyone should. So I reached out for help on that. So knowing what you're willing to DIY, do yourself, or what you're willing to outsource. So maybe that's editing, maybe it's proofreading, maybe it's the artistry. For my Roadmap to 1K, the first edition, which was just on my website, it wasn't on Amazon, I DIY'd the cover for that. I just created one in Canva. And for this one, I really wanted something that would stand out. So like I contacted a professional formatter, and he did this for me. I'm very happy with how the cover of this book turned out as well. And of course it's blue. My favorite color is blue, as you can tell. I'm almost always wearing something blue. And finally, how I became a writer is try. You just keep trying. You start your day and you try something. And if that doesn't work, then tomorrow you do something else. And if that doesn't work, then tomorrow you do something else. It's being willing to go through the different stages of learning a new skill, learning a new craft. And I have a university degree, but I didn't go to university for writing. I took my one writing class in college was a Shakespeare class, because I love Shakespeare. And it wasn't like a creative writing class where it's like, this is how you write. So I don't have any kind of formal training. I just know I read a lot of books. I read probably 4 to 5 books a month. And I know what I like. I know what sounds good. I know what moves a story forward and what makes it feel like it's dragging and just taking forever. So I try to apply the things that I learn, and it's been a journey. I think becoming a writer, becoming an author is definitely a journey, and you have to be willing to go through each stage and each phase of the journey. There was a lot of waiting with my Lemur book. And it really wasn't that bad. My artist was fantastic. She got the illustrations back to me completely done within 2 weeks. And that felt like a lifetime, because I was like, okay, what can I do next? Like, how can I move this getting published thing forward? And it was like, you need to wait for the pictures. You can't do the next step until you have all of the artistry done. And so the waiting game is kind of frustrating. So if you do outsource editing, proofreading, formatting, any of that, there's a little bit of waiting involved. And it's kind of scary, because it's like, this is my baby. This book, this story is my baby. It's something I have poured my life into and my experience into. I see pieces of me in all of my characters that I write, or things that I like. So like lemurs, being left-handed, being tall, being a redhead, like these are all character traits of myself that I tend to put into characters that I write about, because that's what I know and that's what I'm experienced with, and that's who I can relate to. And so when you outsource that, a piece of that, it can be really scary, because you don't know like if you're gonna like the work. But that's being able to trust another professional and being willing to work with them. So for example, my first book, this one, when I was getting it formatted, the first cover he came back with was all gold, like mustard yellow gold. And I was like, I do not care for that. I'm really sorry. I know you put a lot of work into this and it does look great, but it's just not what I was going for. It's being willing to stand for what you believe in and standing up for yourself and making sure that your vision is able to come to life by working with another person. So I told him, this is the color that I was really hoping to see it in. And so he just kind of tweaked the background and he tweaked the money tree, and I love how it turned out. So that's what I'll say about that. How I became a writer doesn't necessarily mean that that's how you need to become a writer or an author. The things that I did, you might have a different process. You might have something that works for you. For me, I write whenever I can fit it into my schedule. Usually that means while my kids are watching a movie during rest time, I will just pull up my little app on my phone and I will write. And sometimes I get 100 words written and sometimes I get 1,000 words written. It depends on if inspiration has struck me that day, how I'm feeling, how I'm doing. But the one thing that I stick to is that I write. I'm consistent about it. I'm dedicated. This is part of who I am now. Regardless of who I've been in the past, regardless of my technical schooling, regardless, I think that anyone can be an author if you are dedicated and you're willing to learn and you're willing to just keep at it until you've come up with something that's actually good. And there's nothing wrong with outsourcing your editing, your proofreading, your, getting beta readers to just have a bunch of pairs of eyes on your book and asking them for feedback. Like, hey, I will send you a ahead of time copy of my book just so you can read it and give me your thoughts. Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you didn't like about it. Tell me what you think would be a good improvement. I had sent, so this is the first edition of my Lemur book, and I had sent this ahead of time to about 70 of my other mom friends and family members and just people that I know who happen to be moms or grandparents. And I said, read this. Let me know what you think. Is it something that your kids would read? And I actually got some really good feedback on some of the verbiage that I use, some of the writing, the words. And I had already put this through production. So I couldn't tweak the words in the first edition, but I definitely intend to incorporate them in a second edition once I sell some more copies of it. And so I'm looking forward to that. So I think even once you have it bound up, published, printed, shipped, sent to you, opened up, there's nothing more exciting than opening up the box and seeing a copy of your work for the first time, that was just another piece of the puzzle that made me really feel like a writer and really feel like an author. Now, being an author of my own books, that's not the only writing that I've done. I have written many pages in novels that'll never see the light of day. And I've also worked as a freelance writer since February of this year, of 2022. So for the last 10 months or so, I take about one or more freelance gigs every month just to continue like working and honing my trade and craft and getting more words written for a purpose and getting paid for it. So if you want to be a writer, but you're not yet ready to be an author, I think a really good way is to just find business owners or people or publications and contribute to them. So whether it's your local newspaper and you're sending a letter to the editor, whether it's, your friend owns a business and she has a blog and you want to write a guest post, or if you're actually going out there and seeking writing jobs and getting paid for the work, I think all of that contributes to your ability to write. And, just getting more eyes on your works and getting some feedback and not taking everything that everyone says to heart. That's really hard. It's really hard for me because I do feel like my writing is my baby and it's something that I put my heart and soul into, but it's okay to take constructive feedback. You don't have to go, honestly, I want you to find your own style and to write in a way that makes you feel fulfilled and that you think that your story should go. So don't change everything that you write when someone says that they don't like it. Obviously, as you become an established author and you get thousands of people reading your books, there's going to be people that don't like your book. Because think about this. J.K. Rowling tried for 10 years to get Harry Potter accepted by a publisher. And she was just getting turned down. And she knew that what she was writing, the books that she had, she knew that they were going to be a hit. She knew that they were going to be great. That's why she kept trying. But not everybody liked them. And not everybody who reads Harry Potter or watches the movies, especially if you watch the movies, not everyone is going to like them. So I don't think that we have to go and be liked by everyone who reads our books. I think that it's okay for people to have their own opinions, but getting some eyes on your work before it's published, I think that can be helpful because, you can see if there's a plot hole or you can see if there's just a character trait that people just absolutely hate. And you get to decide if you want to keep that character trait and make people really hate this character, or if you want to dial it back some and have them become more of a likable character. That's up to you. That's up to your creativity. But how I became a writer was just being consistent, dedicated to my work, being willing to learn. I go on YouTube every single day just to learn more stuff, more writing styles, tactics, how to market my books, how to have a YouTube channel, lots of things. So DIY things and trying, and most importantly, implementing. So the most important part of being a writer is just being willing to do stuff, to try stuff, to actually write them down and implement and try and see what works for you. I hope this has been helpful for you. Obviously, it's something I feel very passionately about, so that's why we went a little bit long. But if you like that, let me know. If you have any topics that you want me to cover, drop them in the comments and I'll try to make a video about them. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.